I mean, isn't this illegal? Isn't this graffiti? Hey guys, I am on my way to deliver a cake. What in the heck? Random trash creeping out from under my seat. I thought this car was clean. I'm on my way to deliver a cake to actually the gals at my mom's office. Purchased this cake from me for their coworker whose birthday is tomorrow. But I'm highly disappointed in the cake. I will insert the picture of what's going on, and it's totally my fault, but apparently I didn't account for the weight of the cake itself versus the sturdiness of the filling frosting between the layers. So basically what's going on is, oh, and then I have to go to work afterwards, but what's going on is I baked a marble cake because that's what they requested. I'm quickly learning that anything that isn't chocolate or vanilla is going to get an upcharge on flavor because it does take longer. Even with a marble cake, it takes extra effort. And I know that sounds maybe stuck up, but it is what it is. It's not like I'm going to charge $20 extra, but I'm going to charge a little extra. But of course, I didn't want to overcharge these gals because it's like my mom and her coworkers. And of course, you get special treatment if you're my mom. So they requested a marble cake. And it's like a TikTok theme because I guess this girl really loves TikTok, which I think is super cool. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok myself, but I think it's cool that she's like so into it that they got her a cake that was like themed like that. So it's a black cake. So if you remember when I was talking about the Spider-Man cupcakes, the black icing is its own beast, and it has to use this black cocoa powder that tastes kind of like Oreos. Like that is what they color and flavor Oreos with as well. So it's basically, and then I just shock myself at how intense I can get my coloring, and it's because I'm impatient, so I overdo it and then color like blooms. So let it sit overnight and it's like, but so it's really beautiful. The colors are great. So then there's some ganache drip on there that's like, so if you think of the TikTok logo, it has like, it's that 3D blur effect with like the blue and the pink and the white. It's the cyan and the magenta and the white actually. And so the ganache strips are the cyan and magenta color. So I filled the cake accordingly because like everybody likes a surprise inside. I don't know. I like my cakes to have like some level of funness somewhere that's extra. And so what I did is I put these like stripes of color that match the drips on the outside on the inside. But apparently somehow in doing that, I affected the texture of buttercream. So even though I stuck 3 boba tea straws in there, which are fat, sturdy plastic straws, which is what you do, like even in the cake decorating supply section at the shopping store, you can find packs of those. So I stuck those in there to hold the cake up and keep it sturdy, but it still slid. So it's like all like warping out at the bottom. And this was the first time, you guys, I got a perfect smooth finish on my black buttercream. I crumb coated it in like the purple color. It's so cool. And then I got that perfect smooth finish on my black buttercream. So I am just exponentially disappointed in this cake. So I texted my mom this morning and I said, this is what's happening. Grumble, grumble. If you want me to remake the cake, I have to remake it and then bring it to you tomorrow, which is the day of the party early. But they decided that the imperfection was okay because they're giving her some mug that another gal at the office made that's got something to do with imperfections. And I think that that's cute and like kismet and stuff, but also I'm so disappointed in this cake. And I'm just really mad about it. And I do think a factor in it is the Crisco and the icing. So I really like the smooth, creamy texture that putting a dollop of Crisco. I make a double batch of my buttercream icing. And then on top of that, I just put a dollop of Crisco in there. or vegetable shortening. Usually it is Crisco because you can't get any other brand of it here where I live. But, and I'm just talking like a scoop. Like, I don't even measure it. Well, I noticed, even when I made the black icing actually yesterday morning, because I made the colorful icing last night, I noticed it was like curdly. And I don't know if it had something to do with that specific can of Crisco, or if I was like getting overboard and just putting too much in there. But I had to whip everything extra long to get everything to emulsify, and that was like frustrating. So I got everything to be the consistency I want, but I'll tell you what, that white icing that I made that I colored to match what I needed, it must be the Crisco, that or the store brand powdered sugar I was using, because I bought powdered sugar from the big grocery shopping store in town, and I usually buy this other brand from the little grocery shopping store in town. So I guess I would have never thought that it would make that big of a difference. So I really kind of think it has to do with the Crisco, but I'd been thinking maybe I should just quit adding the Crisco altogether. But like I said, I like that just putting a little bit in there changes the consistency, like the texture, just enough that it's really smooth and velvety. So even people who like less sweet frosting, they like it. I don't know. So now we have to carefully creep our way over to my mom's office, which I better give her a heads up that I'm heading. Drive without looking at the road in my own yard. Hey mama, I'm headed to your office right now. I just left my house. There's just one lonely duck flying towards the pond. I'm gonna give up on the Crisco. I'm disappointed. Every bit of slidage I've had has been something to do with an inconsistency in my icing recipe. That pink strawberry cake I did, it's because I covered the whole thing with ganache, and then I piped a whole bunch of rosettes and stuff on top of it, and then I didn't let the ganache actually like set up. So that caused some slippage. And I would have thought that even with the dowels in this cake, because I did kind of question how soft that icing was, I would have thought the dowels would have helped me. Or not dowels, but the plastic straws. So no more of that. And then I guess I'm gonna have to really up my Swiss meringue buttercream game. So I got away from that because there's a lot of work involved in it. It's Swiss meringue. So when you think of meringue, if you're not like some sort of kitcheny cooking person, when you think of meringue, you most likely are thinking of French meringue, where you just put the egg whites in the bowl and you whip them. This freaking school bus better be parking, and that's why their lights are like that. Sorry, this school bus was like all right up my butt all of a sudden, and then it flipped its lights on, and I was like, what are you doing? Anyway, so French meringue, you put the egg whites in the bowl, you whip them, you get them to just foamy, you add a little cream of tartar, and then you continue to whip and whip and whip, and slowly over time add your X amount of sugar, like crystal, like white sugar, until you get the consistency that you want, soft peaks, stiff peaks, etc., and the sugar's whipped in. Well, to make a meringue-based buttercream, I don't know anything about French, like using French meringue in your buttercream, because that is not a cooked version of a meringue. Like, that meringue becomes cooked after you apply it to whatever you're applying it to, right? If you're making meringue cookies, or if you're putting it on a pie, or making a pie shell, or whatever you're doing with it, pavlova, whatever, then you cook it at that point after you've whipped it. Well, Swiss meringue and Italian meringue, the egg whites are tempered. So in Swiss meringue, to temper the egg whites, You put the egg whites in like a double boiler or a bain-marie. I don't know if I've explained this to you guys before or not, but oh well, I'm going to explain it again. So you put it in your double boiler and you add your white sugar slowly again, and you whip, sorry guys. So over your double boiler, over like a medium heat, you whip and whip and whip until either you can stick your fingers in and get like a egg white consistency that's not, you don't feel the graininess in it, but I like to actually temp it to 160 degrees. And a lot of people will tell you to actually temp it to 160 degrees because that is, you're in a food, that's a food safety thing, right? Like you're killing anything that could be in the egg whites. And so then at that point you transfer it over to your, and actually I have not tried to make it since I got my stand mixer awarded to me by the best patron of the bakery. So at that point you transfer it to your stand mixer and you whip it for a long period of time over nothing. I was gonna say over medium heat, but that's not true. You whip it for like maybe 10 minutes ish till it comes down to room temperature, and then you slowly add in your butter and you cut it up into like 1 tablespoon cubes, and you slowly, like maybe a minute in between each, plop the cube in, whip and incorporate the butter, and then at the end, when everything's there, it will become this beautiful buttercream. So the difference between that and Italian meringue buttercream is you put your egg whites in the mixer. I've never made Italian meringue. I've just watched it be made like on the internet, so I'll give you a brief version. But you put your egg whites in the mixer and you create a sugar syrup, like a simple syrup. And it's got to be like boiling, and then I guess you must bring it down to temperature, or maybe you don't. I guess I'm not really sure, and maybe I should check, like brush up, or like maybe try it. But it makes really pretty glossy buttercream. But so you're adding the syrup to the already mixing egg whites, and then you whip that into a meringue, and then you add your butter that way. So they're much less sweet, and they're a lot more fluffy. They're a lot more delicate. But yeah, so all of that to tell you that I think with my less sweet and fluffy options, I'm going to have to just really hone in my Swiss meringue buttercream. So after this push to get the Valentine's stuff out, I guess that's what we'll be working on, is Swiss meringue buttercreams. I did a few when I first started because I was trying to do a bunch of techniques and like really get my hands dirty with it and stuff, but especially when I was using a hand mixer, and a really ancient one at that, it was more than I wanted to deal with. Let's just put it that way. But now that I have a stand mixer, actually, I think I'm going to try that. Yeah, so, especially because I was thinking I was going to make up some meringues tonight when I get off work, because I will be doing some bakery work tonight when I get off work. So, I didn't know where I was going when I turned the camera on, but I guess today is a lesson in meringue. So thank you for listening to me ramble on about that. I would have remade this cake, but the matter of time, the girls at the office decided they just wanted the broken one, so I'm going to give them a partial refund. And then, yeah, I'm sure it's delicious regardless, but I want things to be perfect, and I'm going to have to, 1, get better, and 2, let it go a little bit. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for chatting with me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.